Well there, everybody. Welcome back to another bracket recap video here. We just wrapped up our Star Wars video games bracket. This was one of the more exciting brackets we've done. Technically, the biggest bracket we've ever done, too, with our 32 teams plus play-in entries. So this was a lot of fun. It was the best reception we've had for any bracket, the most votes. All of you guys, thank you for participating. It's been a great time interacting with all of you and seeing what you were going to choose in the polls. But we're going to give you a deep dive back into the entire month, little over a month long journey of this bracket, as well as our brackets and a few of your brackets that were sent in. We also are going to be announcing what the next bracket is at the end of the video, so make sure you stay tuned all the way to the end for that. Let's dive right in, and we're going to go over, like last time, we're going to go over every single matchup. We're just going to give you guys a recap of what they were, what the percentages were, what won, what all of you voted. And then we're going to talk about a few of the upsets or closer matchups. And in between each round, we're going to show some of your brackets as well as talk about ours. So let's dive in right now. We had the play-in round. We're not going to cover the play-in round too closely. Now we're going to dive in a bit closer to the main bracket. So our bracket started out with Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 beating out Rogue Squadron 62% to 38%. Next, we had the Old Republic, the number 9 seed, versus Dark Forces, the number 24 seed. Old Republic won 82% to 18%. Next matchup was the Force Unleashed, the number 15 seed, versus Star Wars Battlefront from 2004, the original Star Wars Battlefront game. That was the number 18 seed. Force Unleashed beat it 65% to 35%. After that, we marched on over to Empire at War, number 10 seed versus Shadows of the Empire, number 23 seed. Empire at War won that one 73% to 27%. Next, we had the fifth matchup, Battlefront 2 from 2017 versus Episode 1 Racer. That one won 85% to 15%. TIE Fighter, the number 11 seed, versus Rogue Squadron 3 Rebel Strike, the number 22 seed. TIE Fighter won 66 to 34. Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, the number 13 seed, versus Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy. Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga won 72% to 28%. Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, the number 12 seed, versus Bounty Hunter, the number 21 seed. Jedi Academy won 74% to 26%. Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga versus Lego Star Wars 3 The Clone Wars. That won 80% to 20%. After that, this was, even though this one was a blowout, this one still surprised me. The 10th matchup was Knights of the Old Republic, our number 1 seed, versus Angry Birds Star Wars, our number 39 seed. And Angry Birds Star Wars only lost 89 to 11. I'm shocked 11% of 340 people voted for Angry Birds Star Wars over Knights of the Old Republic, but hey, to each their own. Our closest matchup that we had to talk about so far here in the first round, Rogue Squadron 2, Rogue Leader number 7 seed, versus Vader Immortal, number 28 seed. Rogue Leader did just eke it out, 57% to 43%, but that one was quite close. Very dominant performance from Battlefront 2 2005, our number 2 seed. It beat out Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens, our number 38 seed, 94% to 6%. This is going to be the first one we dive into here. Republic Commando, our number 6 seed, versus Revenge of the Sith, the number 29 seed. Republic Commando ended up finishing this one off pretty comfortably with 55% to 45%. But for the entire first day of the votes here, Revenge of the Sith was winning, and then overnight, Republic Commando got a huge swell of support. Sanak, let's look at your bracket here because you did take Revenge of the Sith over Republic Commando. Give me a couple reasons why you picked Revenge of the Sith over Republic Commando, and also why you think the community initially went for Revenge of the Sith and ultimately shifted then to Republic Commando.
For me, it comes down to having played that game endlessly growing up. Yeah, I mean, episode 3 really had some great marketing, some exclusive music that wasn't in in the movie. There were some scenes that were cut out that they showcased. In the comments, people were saying it's just like an average platformer. But for 2005, for Star Wars, for a movie tie-in, it was really well-rounded. Republic Commando, I think, is the better game. It's more well-respected. To some degree, it has a bit of a bitter pill to swallow that by not having a follow-up game after having that cliffhanger.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really great game. When we did our tier list, we both really love that game. I think we put it in A tier. This wasn't a tough one for me. I easily went with Republic Commando here, but Revenge of the Sith up against a lot of these other higher seeds, it possibly could have upset it for me. Let's look at the rest of round one here. We had Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords, our number 3 seed, versus Starfighter, our number 34 seed. Knights of the Old Republic 2 took that 94-6. After that, we had Jedi Fallen Order, our number 5 seed, versus Squadrons, our number 30 seed, a battle of the newer Star Wars games. Fallen Order took that one 95% to 5. And then we get to the next one we want to talk about in round one, our only real upset in round one, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, our number 4 seed, versus Lego Star Wars, our number 33 seed, one of the only seeds to eke in on the play-in that was a lower seed. It upset in the play-in, and now it upset again in the first round here against a number 4 seed. Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast is a game with immense legacy. It is still considered one of the great Star Wars games of all time. We ranked it at number 4 here. And again, when we seed things, we do a combination of our personal rankings as well as general overall reception, critical reviews, and legacy. For me, I don't know if I personally would have Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast as one of my top 5 favorite Star Wars games or top 6, 7 favorite Star Wars games. I think as an FPS, it hasn't aged nearly as gracefully as something like Republic Commando, which came out in a very similar era. However, I did take it over Lego Star Wars in my bracket. Sanak, what are your thoughts here on this matchup as well? You took Jedi Outcast over it as well in your bracket.
I think when people are looking at Lego Star Wars, they're getting hit by so much nostalgia because it really was a new way of looking at Star Wars. Just how the original partnership with the original Legos combining with Star Wars was like, oh, that's interesting. It redefined Lego, right? And Lego Star Wars redefined video games for a lot of like the younger audiences. There was great humor in there. It was fun to collect things. It was great to play co-op. I can see why people love it, but I don't know. You look at the type of game Jedi Outcast is, and you're just like, I don't know why this would lose. It is also a bit of a difficult game compared to Dark Forces, I think, for a lot of people to make that next step. I just think it's that it's so much more of living in like a meme culture today, and Lego Star Wars just has that humor that kind of defined some of our jokes and references today in the same way that Jedi Outcast simply doesn't have that sort of legacy.
That's very true. It definitely is nostalgia based. And I love Lego Star Wars. It's a great game. And I don't really have a problem with that upset, honestly. For me, it's not really close for what I would pick, but I think amongst the early 2000 Star Wars games, Jedi Knight 2 was one of the lesser played. That was the last matchup of round one. So we're going to transition over here into round two. Before we do so, though, let's look at some of your brackets. Josh Trice sent in a bracket here, and he has Battlefront 2 taking it all. And this is a good one to talk about after what we just talked about because he has Lego Star Wars, the original Lego Star Wars, going all the way to his finals, upsetting not only Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast, but he upset Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy, which it itself upset Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, and then upsetting the big one of all of it, the number 1 seed Knights of the Old Republic, to make it all the way to the final, and then Battlefront 2 making it all the way to the final and winning the whole thing, which it was in the final of the community bracket as well. Any thoughts here on Josh's bracket before we move on to the second round? So.
Yeah, I think this definitely builds off of what we're talking about. It is nostalgia. He might be someone who's a little older, like us, who's like, yeah, I remember loving Lego Star Wars. I don't know how KOTOR 2 could be upset though. I mean, sorry, KOTOR 1 gets upset. That to me is shocking. But hey, if you love the humor, if you're a prequel fan and you want that nostalgia to hit you just straight, I can see why the original Lego Star Wars win.
So the first matchup of the second round we had was Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga, 63% versus the Old Republic. Number 9 seed got 37. And that one had a lot of debate here. So I'm going to pass it to Sonic to tell me about some of the reasons he picked the Old Republic over Lego Star Wars.
I mean, look, I love Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga, but I think the biggest weakness of that game for me is that the only things that are really added there are just some slight visual improvement and some like bounty hunter missions and stuff at the cantina, not necessarily a game like the Old Republic, where it's so much more about creating your character, meeting other people online, exploring your storyline with a BioWare backing. Like every single role that has been famous as Star Wars, having full life to that is great. Being the only Legends continuation today, there's a lot to love about the game.
Then we had Knights of the Old Republic, our number 1 seed, taking on our number 16 seed, Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2. That was a 93% to 7% win for KOTOR. The next one was our only real upset of round 2, Rogue Squadron 2, Rogue Leader, our number 7 seed, versus Empire at War, our number 10 seed, still very seated very closely, but Empire at War won that matchup 69% to 31%. I want to talk about this one. I took Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader personally. Again, early 2000s Star Wars game for the GameCube, my first video game console and one that I love immensely. And I love that game. I can understand this, especially because Empire at War is still readily available to people to play. So I'm sure it's a bit more widely played than Rogue Squadron 2, which is an exclusive to the GameCube. But for me, Rogue Squadron 2 is my favorite flight simulation Star Wars game of all time. It's got the best battles and it's got all the highlights from all the original trilogy battles. Empire at War, I do love, and it still holds up really, really well today. I had a hard time picking this one, but I did go with Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader. Moving on to the fourth matchup here, Battlefront 2 74% versus Force Unleashed 26%. Then Republic Commando, our number 6 seed, beat out TIE Fighter, our number 11 seed, 90% to 10%. Then we had Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords, our number 3 seed, versus Battlefront 2 2017, our number 14 seed. That was a 63% to 37%. And then Jedi Fallen Order versus Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, number 5 versus number 12. Jedi Fallen Order got 78%, Jedi Academy 22%. And the final matchup in round 2, we had Lego Star Wars, The Skywalker Saga, 72% versus Lego Star Wars. Its run-ins there, 72% to 28%. So now that we've wrapped up our second round, before we get into the quarterfinals, let's look at one more of your guys' brackets. Let's look at Josiah Sawyer sent one in, and Josiah in the first round has not any upsets really. Most of it is straightforward. Got Rogue Squadron over Jedi Knight. Racer over Battlefront 2 2017, though. That's a bigger surprise on that side. Josiah does agree with me that Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader beats out Empire at War there, and then has Republic Commando making it to his semis over Knights of the Old Republic 2, and then has the same final that the community had with Battlefront 2 2005 taking it over Knights of the Old Republic. Josiah also did clarify in his email when he sent this in that he had to go with his favorite Star Wars game over the one he thinks is best. Sanak, any thoughts on Josiah's bracket here before we move on to our quarterfinals?
Well, not anything big here, but if we're talking about Star Wars video game covers, I think Battlefront 2's is so iconic and so good looking, the composition and everything. It is one of the better video game covers out there, and when I saw it, I felt the excitement. When I played it, I felt that excitement even today. I can still remember the sounds and everything. Like, yeah, and it's an iconic game for a reason. And a very underrated campaign.
Let's move into the quarterfinals here. Our quarterfinals did start out with our number 1 seed, Knights of the Old Republic, taking on our number 8 seed. KOTOR pulled it out 64% to 36%. Then next, in our second round, we had Battlefront 2 2005, our number 2 seed, versus Empire at War, our number 10 seed. I thought this one would be a little closer, to be honest. I thought Battlefront 2 would win, but 88% to 12% is still pretty shocking. That's a huge blowout. But that goes to show you how much people love Battlefront 2. And then we had Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords, our number 3 seed, versus Republic Commando, our number 6 seed. A little tighter matchup there, 69% to 31%. But again, KOTOR 2 taking that one. Our final matchup in the quarterfinals was Jedi Fallen Order, our number 5 seed, versus Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, our number 13 seed. Fallen Order took that one 83% to 17%. No surprise there. No big upsets there. No upsets at all. So we're going to just move on to our next user submitted bracket here. And that was a glitched EV. Again, returning from last video. Thanks for continuing to send in your brackets here, glitched EV. Starting with a game that you definitely passionately defended in the comments on our polls. Lego Star Wars 3, The Clone Wars, made it out of your first round, beating out Lego Star Wars, The Complete Saga, and then topping Dark Forces, which beat out the Old Republic, which is also a major upset. Lego Star Wars 3, The Clone Wars, making it all the way to your quarterfinals and then eventually losing to Knights of the Old Republic. No shame in losing there, though. You had Fallen Order making it to your finals, going through the same path that most of these games went through. Looking at the right side of your bracket, no real upsets there. You followed the community in almost every way. And then ultimately ending with Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords, beating out Battlefront 2, and then facing off Jedi Fallen Order in the finals, with Jedi Fallen Order winning the whole thing before Jedi Survivor just came out a few days ago. Jedi Fallen Order is the most technically proficient Star Wars game we've ever seen, one of the tightest single player Star Wars stories we've ever seen.
A great list, honestly. It's upsets that I can understand. Definitely appreciated the passionate defense of Lego Star Wars 3, which a lot of people don't even talk about today. It's a great pick. Jedi Fallen Order. I can't say no to that. It's a great game.
And Glitch TV also had the exact same semifinals as the community, and as well as Sanak and I both did. So let's look at those semifinals right now. We had a pretty tight matchup here on the left and right side, both. I genuinely wasn't sure what would come out here because you have Jedi Fallen Order, which is the newest game. With Jedi Survivor coming out, a lot of people probably just played that game. So I wasn't sure what was going to come out here. And Knights of the Old Republic did take it 56% to 44%, but that's one of the tightest matchups we had in the whole bracket so far. Then on the other side, we had Battlefront 2 2005 beating out Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords. And Battlefront 2 won that one a little easier than KOTOR won its matchup, 62% to 38%. And with a lot of the comments and the support we had gotten in the comments section about Knights of the Old Republic 2, I thought it did have a shot, but Battlefront 2, arguably until the final, had been the most dominant of any of the entries. It had won in a landslide in almost every single poll it had had up until that point. Sonic and I both had the exact same finals and the same semifinals that went down here with the community. So we're going to just skip right to the final here. And the final matchup was Knights of the Old Republic, the number 1 seed, versus Battlefront 2 2005, the number 2 seed. We gave this one a couple days to let the votes shake out. And as of the time of this recording, there are 415 votes, and this went 58% for the number 1 seed, Knights of the Old Republic, 42% for the number 2 seed, Battlefront 2. Not shocking that KOTOR won. It was the heavy number 1 seed favorite. The pretty much, when we went to seed these, the obvious lock at number 1 seed. But Battlefront 2 did fight hard. It gave it a run for its money. And for people like Josiah that we talked about earlier, Battlefront 2, for a lot of us, is our favorite Star Wars game, the one we put the most time into playing with friends. You know, as much as we all want single player Star Wars, there is something about multiplayer Star Wars that adds those levels of memory. For me, that was a reason I had it in my final. I do absolutely love the game. I just couldn't put it above Knights of the Old Republic. As great as the story is, I played Battlefront 2 dozens of times more than KOTOR. But the 2 or 3 times I've played KOTOR, it's just a magical experience. It really transports you, and it's the closest thing we've gotten to a movie quality level Star Wars story. I think even above Jedi Fallen Order. I haven't finished Jedi Survivor yet, obviously, but KOTOR is that shocking twists and turns level writing that just puts it to the point where if you saw this as a film or a television series, you'd be thoroughly locked in as you were playing the game. It's not a story we'd ever seen before. It's a whole new side of the Star Wars world, even with very aged gameplay. At the same time, KOTOR is the gold standard of Star Wars video games. It's one of the great RPGs of all time. I had to put it first. Sonic, you also put it first. Give me a few reasons why Knights of the Old Republic was the best Star Wars game of all time for you in your bracket.
For a pretty simple reason, I've played it a lot of times since I played Battlefront 2. We can think about this game in so many different ways, but at the end of the day, we just know that we love and enjoy it, and it's still fun to go to even with how old it is. The fact that it's getting a remake should already tell you something there, like the demand for people to just relive that whole world, that fully fresh original world that only leaned on Star Wars concepts, not Star Wars imagery like something like Survivor and Fallen Order do. That factor also pushes it over the top for me. KOTOR, it's not even just nostalgia. It's just every time you play it, you're like, wow, this is still such a strong game.
But that's it. That's going to wrap up our bracket recap. But we did promise we were going to announce what the next bracket is going to be. And we will announce right now that our next bracket, beginning May the 4th, make sure you guys all check it out, is going to be Star Wars characters. We wanted to do something big for May the 4th and the entire month of May kind of being a Star Wars celebration month. So this will be a bracket that features legends and canon characters. We are going to have a main 64 entry character bracket plus some play-in characters. So you can expect to comment and fight over your favorite characters, which ones didn't make it in, which ones did make it in. But again, for voting, you're taking into account everything. Hopefully y'all enjoy it, and hopefully you guys are looking forward to it. Our next bracket recap video won't be for probably 2 months, because this will be double the length of any bracket we've done. So make sure you're following along with us all the way. I am assuming that most matchups will be pretty tightly contested, because Star Wars characters, I think, are one of the most subjective things we could possibly talk about here. Most people are going to have very differing opinions. And I can't wait to see what all of your opinions are. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure you're liking the video, commenting below, letting us know what you thought of this current bracket, the next bracket, what you think of this entire series. Of course, subscribing to the channel so you can see the polls as soon as they drop, so you can vote in them every single day, as well as all the other videos we have coming for you. We are currently streaming Jedi Survivor twice a week. Make sure you tune in for those. We usually do Tuesday, Thursday. This week we're doing Tuesday, Wednesday. Again, we also do no spoilers on those. Obviously, we'll have spoilers for where we are in the game, but we are not going to talk about what happens later in the game. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.